I would like then to invite Miying to give her speech. And she's going to present the reality of PSS in China. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, sorry. Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Miying Yang. I'm really sorry that I can't speak Portuguese. The only word I can speak is obrigado. So thank you very much for inviting me to give the presentation about PSS in China. Today I would like to talk about briefly about the motivation, challenges, and cases in China. So China is one of the biggest manufacturing countries in the world. Chinese manufacturing, if you look at the figure, it has taken up more than 20% of the global manufacturing output in 2013. So China is really a big manufacturing country. However, there are a lot of problems in China at the moment. From this picture, you can see it's really highly polluted in China, especially in the west, in the northwest part of China, where most of the heavy industrial companies are located at. And I have been seeing the fact that the pollution in China currently has been threatening people's life and their health. And China definitely is one of the most highly energy consumption countries in the world. And we have very huge industrial overcapacity. And the steel industry is one of the examples. Also in the past, we have a big advantage of having very low cost of labor so that we can provide the cheap products to all over the world. But now the advantage is not existing anymore. The cost of labor is increasing almost every year. And so in general, China is really still at the low value end, low end of the value if you look at the whole value chain compared to some other countries like US. So I would say China is indeed a big manufacturing country, but it's not a strong manufacturing country. And last year, Chinese government has released a national document about Made in China 2025. So Chinese government is very ambitious. It aims to upgrade Chinese manufacturing to high value end within the next 10 years. Now it's 9 years to be precise. And in this document, it has clearly stated that service-oriented manufacturing is one of the key implementation guidelines. And let's look at the data. So since 2001, the service GDP from services in China has risen from 35% to 44% within 10 years. And I checked the most recent data. China has achieved more than half GDP from services in last year. Also, this set of data is also quite interesting. It shows the growth of servitized companies in many countries. And China has a big jump from 2007 to 2011 in terms of the numbers of servitized companies. I think one of the main reasons is that I think it was about 2006, Chinese government released some really good policies and regulations to encourage manufacturing companies to servitize. And suddenly, many traditional manufacturing companies, they are becoming service-oriented companies. But of course, they are indeed adding a lot of service elements to their business. So it seems that Chinese government or I would say regulation is one of the key motivation for Chinese companies to become service-oriented company. And I did some case studies and found it's not really true. No matter how Chinese government forces or encourages companies to do servitization, they wouldn't do that if it adds no value to their business. And I found the most important driver for PSS companies in China is still customer demand. They found some top PSS companies in China, they all agreed that there is a growing customer needs for services in China, and also the second driver is related to market, which is actually also sort of related to customer demand. They found that because before 2000, there is a huge market for products in China in almost all industrial sectors. But after a few years, the market of product selling has reached saturation. They could not sell more products because some products, they last for like 10 years or 20 years, and customers do not need to buy more products anymore. And instead, there is a huge growth of market for services. And they also found that the competitiveness on production cost is getting lower and lower. And some companies, some PSS leading companies in China, they also see PSS as their strategy to extend their businesses to the middle of life and end of life of their products. And they also think it's a really good strategy to lock out competitors and lock in their customers. And also, it can differentiate their products and services to other companies. And recently, I would say last year, I found quite interesting phenomenon is that many companies, they provide service mainly, they do service for free. But their main motivation is to get access to the service data. And also, I have to admit that the environmental benefit is quite small motivation for Chinese companies to do PSS. And this is why I wanted to study how to identify sustainable value opportunities in PSS. So now I'm presenting one of the cases in China. It's a very interesting company. So previously, the company is selling gas generators to their company. So gas generator is a machine which separates the air into different industrial gases like hydrogen, nitrogen, and some rare gases. And this is a state-owned company and one of the biggest gas generator companies in the world. And it's also a pioneering PSS companies in China because it provided different types of PSS. And so there are mainly four. They provided many, I think, maybe more than 10 different PSS offerings to their customers, but if we group them, there are mainly four types. One is technical service. They sell the gas generators to their companies, and also added services like installation, maintenance, and repair. And the second type is EPC. It's a type of integration-oriented PSS. It's the company is getting upstreams and downstreams into their supply chains. It's like instead of only providing the gas generators, they provide the whole engineering equipment that the customer really need as a whole. To their customer. And another type is leasing. Instead of selling the gas generators, the company leases their generators. And the leasing contract is also quite interesting because it really varies depending on the customer needs. Some customers, they want to have the ownership of the products, but only after a certain period of after a certain period of years. So, so I deliberately put special leasing across in different types of PSS because the ownership of the PSS is changing. The most interesting type of PSS is instead of selling gas generators, the company sells gases, selling nitrogen, hydrogen, these kind of gases to customers who need it. And these projects, the gas projects actually only started in 2010. But within 4 years, this project was like growth very, very fast. Every year, their revenue doubled. This is the number in 2013. So the gas projects already accounted to like more than 35% of revenue. And in 2014, it was 50%. And I didn't check what's the number last year. But it indeed gave the company a lot of revenue. So, I have to say that in this company, sustainability is not their motivation to do PSS. But can this company create a sustainable value because of the PSS offerings? Yes. I collected some data and I found. Actually, from their PSS business model, the company created, if we look at the brown color, it's environmental and economic value. It's taking up like almost 56%. So it's like this kind of value is created by accident. Very interesting. And then there are also some other types of value, social and economic value, the yellow one, and environmental value, the purple one. So from here, we can see that only 26.8% of the value is purely about economic value. And then I was thinking, this is like the type of value that the company, type of sustainable value that the company created sort of without a plan. But can this company create more sustainable value by planning it and designing it better at the beginning? And then I developed a tool called the Sustainable Value Analysis Tool to help those companies to identify opportunities to create sustainable value through the entire product life cycle by identifying the value that has not been captured in the company. And then find a mechanism to turn those value uncaptured into value opportunities. And then I tested the tool. I used the tool in 8 large PSS companies in China, and so the tool helped them identify 460 value uncaptured and more than 300 value opportunities. And of course. Thank you. Not all the value opportunities are feasible, but it gives them some inspiration to think about what kind of opportunities that they can create a sustainable value. And this is a very, it's an example of how the gas generator company identified the value opportunities through identifying value uncaptured. And the last interesting point I would like to talk about is the PSS development process in some Chinese companies. I found, so as a developing country, China does not have that much time to catch up with the Western companies in terms of transforming their businesses from a very, very low position. And so what they did is that they learned very, very carefully how a similar company in Western countries transform their businesses into PSS business model. So, for example, this gas generator company, they learned how the top gas generator company in Germany provided the PSS. What kind of conditions they need to prepare, what kind of challenges they will go through, and what kind of policies they need. Then they imitated it and learned the technology and business models. But of course, not Chinese companies cannot just copy what they learned, because China has its specific characteristics. So what they did is they integrate these what they learned from Western companies and integrate it into the local Chinese characteristics. And then they started to do some pilot projects in some of the cities or to some of their customers. Then they started to compare what are other conditions they require, because in China, the national economic structure and the personal relationship, everything is quite different from Western countries. And then they learned what is the key factors for Chinese companies to transform into PSS. And then they improved this in some of their other projects. Here is a short summary of the challenges of implementing PSS in China. They all agreed that customer acceptance is the biggest challenge. And also they found it's really hard to do service planning, because service is quite invisible. They don't know how many people, how many service workers need to be provided to provide a certain type of service. And also the relationships between the company and their customers and other stakeholders along the supply chain are completely changed in PSS contract. And also it has a high risk, of course, and it requires a high investment at the beginning as well. And in China, particularly, the national economic background is very, very important. But that's a long story. Okay, obrigado. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to discuss about it.